Greetings and welcome to Unit 5, which we're going to discuss classical Greece and the regions surrounding classical Greece. Today's lesson will talk specifically about the geography and the early cultures of the region. So let's get started. You are reminded to make sure you have Lecture 1 notes available as well so that you can take those notes as we are going through this lesson. So let's get started. Setting the stage. The geography of the ancient Greeks was considerably different than those of the previous cultures we have studied. The culture of ancient Greeks was shaped by several different cultures: the Minoans, the Messenians, the Phoenicians, and the Dorians. Combined, these four cultures would make up what we would see later on as the Greek culture. So these are the four we're going to focus on today. Now, let's take a look. Where is Greece? If we take a look at modern-day Europe, you can see that Greece is actually in the southern to southeastern part of Europe. Back then, it was actually a group of smaller city-states of those four different areas or multiple different groups. But today, that's where we can see Greece, and this is the region we'll be talking about. Additionally, in this lesson, we'll be talking about other regions ruled by some of these groups that actually extended as far as India. But basically, we're focusing primarily on the Greece area that you see on your map here. Zooming in, you see a couple different little locations and cities. You see the island nation of Crete on the bottom. That's where we're going to start with our first civilization, or our first group. You'll also see several cities such as Sparta, Athens, and Troy. These cities played an important role, especially when you're talking about battles. A lot of the Greek battles took place in one of these three cities. There were other cities, such as the Battle of Marathon as well, but these cities were some of the capitals of the region. And usually, in order for you to win in a battle, you had to defeat the capital. So you're always going for the capital. You'll also see on the top of this map Mount Olympus. We'll kind of get to that near the end of our lesson, but that's what people mostly relate to Greece, is the Parthenon and where that's located. So, geography. Geography shapes Greek life. Ancient Greece was considered consisted of mostly of mountainous peninsula jutting into the Mediterranean Sea. Very mountainous. Over 2,000 islands in the Aegean and Ionian Seas all make up part of present-day Greece. A lot of times these islands are in dispute, but there were over 2,000 islands in this area. The sea was to Greece what rivers were to Egypt and Mesopotamia. The sea was their livelihood. We'll talk later about that when we talk about trade as well as war. But the sea, specifically the Mediterranean and the Aegean Sea, were extremely important to the survival of these civilizations. It is said that the Greeks did not live on the land, but around the sea. The Greeks became master shipbuilders due to sea trade. If they wanted to trade with other nations, they needed to be good at shipbuilding. Here you can see kind of the region and all the different cities that made up the area back then. All these different areas were trading evenly with each other. So here you have Sparta to the south that would trade all over the place. Later on, we'll see actually Argos and some others, seaports that were very important in the trade around the region. Greece lacked natural resources such as farmland, timber, and precious metals, so they had to rely pretty much on the sea. Rugged mountains covered 3/4 of ancient Greece. The mountains divided up Greece into several territories and shaped Greek political life. Uneven terrain made travel difficult. Large-scale irrigation was not possible because of all of these mountainous areas. Land could not sustain large populations. There wasn't enough land to grow crops. You can't grow crops, you can't feed your people. Can't feed your people, you don't have people. So not a lot of farmland. The one good thing was that the climate varied from 48 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter to 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. So it was a very moderate climate, a very comfortable climate year-round. So let's get into our first group, the Minoans. The Minoans was a civilization that started off in the island of Crete, which is right down there at the bottom. And you'll see them popping up here and there with some of the battles, but that's where their civilization started. Early cultures influenced the Greeks. The Minoans gave the Greeks architecture, burial customs, and religious rituals. The people that lived there were very outdoorsy and athletic, a lot like the Greeks. They liked being outside, they liked doing different athletic events, they liked being out in the sun. Obviously, the weather was to their fortune here, being such a mild and temperate area, they could enjoy themselves in the weather frequently. It was never really hot, never got too cold, so they spent a lot of their time doing things outside. Moving on to the next group, the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians made up this small area here on the east side, it is the east side of the Mediterranean Sea, which would be equivalent to just north of present-day Israel. One interesting fact about the Phoenicians is they actually gave us the phonetic alphabet, the alphabet that we use today. Even though they use different symbols, the language was the same, or the use of this lettering system was the same. The word alphabet comes from the first two letters of the phonetic language, alpha meaning A, and B or bet meaning B. These Phoenicians were excellent shipbuilders and merchants, and they influenced Greek shipbuilding as well. Just to kind of illustrate the relations that their alphabet had to ours, you can kind of see on this chart here, which is also available in your book. You see the Phoenicians and their alphabet here, kind of in the middle. And then you see the Roman and the Greek alphabet, which is more like our alphabet. As time has gone on, we've obviously modified the alphabet. But as you can see, there is direct relation to their alphabet to ours. For example, the letter H. The Phoenician H is similar to our H today. The Messenians. The Messenians was a small group made up primarily in the northwestern area of present-day Greece, as you can see. Kind of between the Peloponnesus island and split with in the Gulf of Corinth, which is right there. So just north of the Gulf of Corinth. For them, the Messenians influenced Greek religious practices, art, politics, and literature. They fought the Trojans at Troy in the Trojan War. They actually ended up having to go far up north and east to get to Troy in order to do this. This is where you have the whole Trojan horse story come about, where the Messenians created this Trojan horse, presented it, and they were fooled. The Dorians. This map kind of shows where the Dorians are, or at least what they ruled. As you can see, they're in the green. They ruled the southern tip of present-day Greece, a little bit past here, which would be present-day South Turkey, and a very small little strip of land on the northwest side of present-day Greece. Some sporadic islands and little territories here and there. So they did do some, but not a lot of area that was really major or substantial. The Dorians took over after the Minoans. Not much is known about the Dorians. It is kind of an area known as the Dark Ages of Greek history. We know they existed, but we don't have a lot of information on them.